Okay, good morning, everyone, once again. May I request somebody in the class just to pray, and then we will get started.
Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this day, and thank you for this time, O Lord. Lord, I submit each and everyone into your hands. I submit the class, and I submit Pastor into your hands, Lord. You teach us, guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, so last week we covered chapter 11, where we looked at different ways, platforms and tools that we can use for digital engagement. So we covered a lot of things like websites and social media platforms and distribution platforms and different kinds of messaging and emails, and also the church app. Different ways that we can engage with people digitally. Today I want to cover two things. One is which both are more of guidance, like how do you do this well. Chapter 12, we will be talking about some guidance on using graphics and videos. So let me just share my screen. So we will be talking about guidelines for graphics and videos, how to do this well, and of course, as with all technology, things keep changing over time. So we have to keep adapting to the best practices that are being followed over time. And there are useful Christian-oriented websites that keep providing, some of these guidelines. And there are many. I've just listed a few here, where, basically we are thinking on how best to use, graphics and videos when we want to create them and use them. So I'll just go through some basic things that we look at. And also, I've shared a PDF, that gives the industry standard for chapter 12. I think, this is the PDF where image sizes that you're supposed to use. So these are industry standards. So whenever you are creating images for different social media platforms, it's important to follow these standards. Right? So everybody, meaning in the industry, follows these standards depending on which platform you're using. So it's good to, when you're making your graphics, making your videos, follow those standards. Going back to chapter 12, some of the guidelines is, so we try to stay current with what's happening. Like I mentioned, things are changing. And also, churches are coming up with new ideas on how they create the graphics, how they create the video content. So we can definitely learn from others who are, on the forefront, other churches, other ministries who are doing a good work. We can see how they are using graphics and videos to communicate. And so we can learn from them. And, graphics and videos, they are helping us in the communication process. But, we determine the message. So, be clear on what is the message you want to convey through a graphic or through a video. Whom are you speaking to? Who is the target audience for that graphic or for that video that you're creating? The fonts that we use should be simple, easy to read. Sometimes people create graphics and the fonts are like very fancy, but it's very difficult to read, right? And people are just going to look at it, for a few seconds. And so at that point, if it's difficult to read the font, they may not make the effort to try and understand it. So try to keep it simple. Keep color choices very relevant and sensitive. So, even color choices are sending a message. There are different groups, social groups, that use different colors in different ways. And so we have to be careful. We have to know that, because sometimes if by mistake you use some sort of a color or a color choice that is actually being promoted by a certain group, those who see it may think that we are part of that, part of that group, and so on. And then there could be a clash in the messaging, and so we have to be careful. It's very important that whenever we create a graphic and a video, we use blank space advantageously. Don't crowd the graphic. Sometimes we put too much content, and then the eye doesn't know where to fall first. So and then we miss out the whole thing. So there is this concept of hierarchy in your graphic or a video. That means, what is the most important thing you want them to see? What is the first thing you want the eye to land on? And so that's what you're going to give more weight to in the graphic or in the video. So we call it the heaviest element, meaning that will be in the biggest font or most impactful color, because that's the main thing you want them to see. Other things will be in smaller font and size and more subdued colors. So all these things go into when we are creating a graphic or a video. Now, of course, there are different graphic design software packages, and that's a technical thing. Some of you may be interested, some of you may not be. We are using a paid version of Adobe software, but there are also free versions that many people use. So when we're doing our graphics, what guidelines do we follow? Repeating some things. We try to stay with current, with the trends. We have to be very careful in the images that we use, right? Especially as a church, as a Christian ministry. Avoid using images that are, suggestive, or people with inappropriate clothing, or violence, or that's indecent or provocative. And over the years, now and then our team makes mistakes, in the graphics, and I get feedback. People send messages, or sometimes even I notice and say, hey, we shouldn't be using that. I'll give a simple example. This happened a long time ago, when we brought out our book Foundations, which, very simple cover. I told the graphic person, just show a picture of foundation, just show a picture of, stones being put on each other, like how a foundation is built. I just gave that, saying, okay, use that as a cover. I didn't bother to check. The books got printed, everything. And then I'm looking at the first, the print. And on the cover of a graphics person who was there at that time, this was many years ago, he had used a picture of pebbles, like a big pebble, then a smaller pebble, another pebble, smaller, and he had used that picture. That means I had said, use a picture of, stones being put on other, which in my mind, I was thinking about how foundation is being built, rocks and foundation. He found another picture that had these pebbles being put on top of each other. The moment I saw it, I said, hey, this is actually, that actually is representing those pebbles being put on top of each other. It is actually representing an Eastern religious practice. That's how I'm not exactly sure, like something with Buddhism or some other Eastern type of, religious practice. They put these rocks on each other and all of that. And that graphic was on all our first set of foundation books, already printed, 2,000 copies. And it was so embarrassing because here, the books have been printed and it's already done. And I assumed that, the graphics person understood what I said. In my mind, I was having a picture of, foundation, but this was what happened. But what can we do? We can't throw those books away. It's already been printed. So we distributed that. And then I said, I had to, explain more clearly, it's got to be this thing. And so that's when the cover was changed to what it is today, which is basically bricks being laid and cement and having the picture of foundation. So I'm just giving that example. Like there's many, mistakes that have happened, which sometimes can actually cause, people can get concerned. I remember once, there's so many examples, but one example was in one particular graphic that we done, because every week they're doing different graphics for different things. One of our graphics people, he used a picture of a hand holding something, but on the hand there was a tattoo of a cross. So he just used this picture. He must have got it somewhere online. He used that picture of the hand, and on that hand there was the tattoo of a cross. He used it, and I don't check these things. There's other people who do the checking, and it went out. They posted it on our social media, all these platforms, and then somebody sees it and they send me a WhatsApp message with this picture with that tattoo circled, with the question, are we promoting tattoos? Again, I was so embarrassed because we can understand where that person is coming from, that they're seeing this picture and they're thinking, hey, the church is, promoting tattoos, but really we are not in any way, for or against tattoos. That's somebody else's. Whoever wants, that's their choice. So immediately I had to give feedback to the graphics person. I say, hey, see this mistake, please, Photoshop it, remove the graphic and repost the image. So we had to, immediately make that correction. But I'm just saying, these small things, we have to be very careful, especially from a church and a ministry side, in what images we use and so on. Similarly, like we always said, font and font style, make it easy to read. There has to be a sense of uniformity between what we're doing with graphics and videos, that when people see that, okay, it's coming from the same organization, so there's that sense of uniformity across what's being done. And as much as possible, we try to use faces that are relevant to what we are saying or doing. Now, again, this is actually quite difficult. And so we're trying to, I'm trying to enforce, hey, try to use more Indian, Asian or Indian faces in this thing. But, most of the time we use stock graphics or stock videos to create what we have. And what is available online usually is Western pictures, Western videos, so on. So it's a little challenge, but our goal is to create our own collection of, faces and pictures and videos that are relevant to our audience, our local audience, and slowly we can start using that instead of using, the stock videos and pictures, which mostly is Western. So we try to do that. It's there as a guideline, but it's not always possible just because of, the kind of video graphics we need. Then in terms of creating videos, again, we want to be careful, even what images are being used in the videos. I remember recently, a couple of, I would say in recent months, I think towards the end of last year, something, we have this video coming up before the service starts, like a 1-minute segment. And the other person who was doing the video, I don't know, this mistake happened, but he put a picture of somebody using a rosary, praying with a rosary. So this was a video, and I was there in the service, 8 o'clock service, and I'm seeing this happen. And I'm saying, oh no, because obviously if the congregation if people see it, they may think like, we are promoting prayer using rosary. And so I saw it. Now, I couldn't do anything at that time. It was the 8 o'clock service. The good thing is it was not being recorded. It was not being broadcast. It only happened inside that, so maybe only maybe 100 people or so saw it. But it was wrong, right? We're not promoting prayer using rosary. So after the 8 o'clock service, Emily went to the media team and said, hey, please don't play that video, because of this. Then I also informed our media person, saying, hey, that video segment has this short video, somebody using a rosary prayer, please don't make that mistake, correct it, So what we're using even in our videos, we have to be careful. And so just some guidance, we always show people in a good light when you're showing pictures from APC people. Avoid, things that would cause people to do dangerous things and so on. Because people are watching these videos and they're watching it in church, so you have to be careful. So, when we are, of course, most of you know this, when you're doing videos for Instagram, for shorts and so on, we have very small, 1 to 3 minutes videos, use subtitles whenever possible. And whenever possible, you include the transcript that's generated by YouTube along with the video. When you're choosing voices, choose voices that are clear and exciting for announcements. Show text whenever possible with the voice, so people can also read it as well as hear it. On videos as well, same rule applies. The fonts must be visible, in the video. So always, most people will be watching it on their phone. So the question we have to ask is, is the font size visible when somebody sees this video on the phone? Of course, when they see it on their computer, it comes bigger. But we have to look at how it appears on the phone. And we always follow standardized nomenclature for how we, title our videos and so on. So in the way we put our date, we follow a format that, because people from all over the world are going to be seeing this, and the way dates are represented in different parts of the world are different. So when we put titles and so on, we have to put it in a way that anybody from any part of the world watching that video or seeing that graphic will understand it correctly. Otherwise, if you put it in Indian date format, somebody from the US reading that graphic will misunderstand the date, and so we have those guidelines here, and and I've just given a lot of online links where we get a free. Some of these are paid, but you can get graphics and videos and use them in the work that we do. So we can do that. Another thing that we also have to keep in mind when we are creating graphics and videos is that whatever content we put out, it is also part of our search engine optimization strategy. That means, when Google or other search engines, Bing or other search engines are going through our website content, they include the text that is used with graphics and videos to index our content in our pages. So the way we title the graphics and the video posts should take that into account. So we use, search engine friendly titles for our media content, for graphics and videos, so that it will be picked up by search engines. So the title, the file name, the title, the content on the graphics, and hashtags, all of these play an important part in improving search engine. And these apply for both images as well as for videos. So a very important thing would be for images, use high quality images, also use alt tags. That means a keyword in place of the image, alongside the image that goes in. And similarly for videos, there are things that we need to do to make sure that the video is optimized to be picked up by the search engine, which is in this mostly, say, YouTube algorithms and so on. Right, so the video has to be in line with the content in the rest of the page. It should match, and then things are which will be shared. So keep in mind how YouTube works. That the search algorithm works. So when somebody is looking at it, there are millions of videos available, but YouTube is going to pick up. Okay, what are the based on the user's history and context? What are the potential videos I can show this person? Then it brings it down based on ranking, meaning ranking and how close it is to what the user likes. It looks at the video features, what is the content, what are the tags, all those things, and then presents a short list to the user, right? So while the history and the context of the user is important, the features of the video also are important. So, that's where the all these other things that matter. What is the text on the and the title and the hashtags and the actual content of the video. All of those things become important so that your video can then get presented to the user. That's at a high level, how this works. And so, video file names, video titles, video description, video script, all these things go into determining the video features. And so if we can do this very intelligently, then there's a higher chance that the video we put out is going to, be shown to the user, provided, of course, they have similar interest in watching those videos. Yeah, so I've kind of listed out some of these features that we need to look at. And for those of you who are actually involved in making videos, you could go through this list. The last thing I just want to make mention here is when we are using content from other people, especially meaning for songs and music from other artists, it's important that in the video description we give credit, so details for credit. So I just given an example. Suppose we are using a song in our video, like during our Sunday service or whatever in the video, written by somebody else. It's important to state what's the song name, who's the artist, and etc. Otherwise, so we have to do this. Otherwise, our video will get blocked in parts of the world where copyright, it might be infringing copyright. In some parts of the world, it doesn't matter, but the video will still be shown. But in parts of the world where copyright is an issue, the video will be blocked. So it's very important to give credit like this in the description, so that then the video can then be presented even in those parts of the world. So that's something to keep in mind when you publish videos. Okay, so let me pause here and see if there are any questions that you have. So we're just looking at how to do this graphics and videos well. There is a lot of technical things that go into it, and just at a high level mention some of these things. And any questions on this? Everyone's fine? Okay, let's go to the next topic that I wanted to cover today, which is lesson number 13. I've just shared a PDF on the classroom, so you may not have it right away, but just some thoughts on this number 13. There's just some thoughts on how to use social media effectively. And again, here all the strategies and ideas keep on changing, new ways keep on evolving. So we have to stay in touch with what's happening. There are several social media platforms, and now probably Instagram is on the top of the list. Lots of people on Instagram doing things. And then there are others, of course, lots of others, other platforms. So we generally, Facebook and Instagram are like the main platforms that we use, people are using. So as a church, as a Christian ministry, how should we engage? And again, these are just some general ideas and guidelines. So one is to have regular posts that keep coming from the church or the ministry. So it shouldn't be very sporadic, like, once a month. Or if it's that, very infrequent, then people don't engage. So there should be regular posts coming. And yet at the same time, it has to be balanced. Like, it shouldn't be like so many posts in a day, that there's too much content. So we have to have a balance. And, each church or each ministry can decide what works best for them. Here are some things that we do. We put out our edited Sunday sermon. So there is, a live stream that happens on Sunday. Then by Monday or latest Tuesday, just the sermon part is put out on YouTube. And I think also on Facebook. Just that part. So for those who are just interested in listening to the sermon, they get that segment. We do a sermon highlights. We used to do sermon key points. That means like a 5-minute summary of the sermon. And then we stopped that and just stayed with sermon highlights, which is like a 1 minute, just some main point from the whole sermon, which is in 1 minute. So that comes out again by Tuesday, and that goes again on all our platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We release that. And then usually on the Friday of the week, we put out a graphic. Sometimes it may be a video, but mostly it's a graphic that announces the upcoming Sunday sermon. So the reason we do that is it might interest somebody. The topic might be of interest to somebody, then they may want to, come to the service. So there are pros and cons, like in the sense, if you announce the Sunday sermon title in advance, some people say, "Oh, it's that sermon, I already know about it." Some people could take it that way, or it could also go that some people say, "Oh, wow, I'm really looking forward to that sermon," because they're very interested in that topic. So it could go both ways, but we've been doing this, for many years now. Every Friday, the graphic goes up, which announces what's going to happen on Sunday, the Sunday sermon. During the week, there will be a post about other events. So depending on what event is coming, we try to do that 3 months in advance, as well as 1 week before. So we make a post 3 months in advance in order for people to block the date if that event is of interest to them, and then definitely 1 or 2 weeks before, 1 and 2 weeks before the event, this post will go up, reminding people about the event. So it's kind of something we follow. So it is a systematic, flow of social media posts that happens. And then from time to time, there would be testimonies that are posted, or pictures and videos of, special services or events that are happening. Maybe like, for example, we had Upper Room last Saturday. So those pictures, those videos will go up either during the event, as an event itself, or immediately after the event, it'll go up. So that happens, as well as special events like certain mission trips and so on. Those things will come. So those happen periodically as and when special services happen. So there is this constant posts going on social media, so people stay engaged. But at the same time, we have to be careful that it is not overloading people. So we have to find that balance, so that people stay engaged, but they don't feel overloaded. Another very important thing that we must do is to maintain a consistent presence across all platforms. That means, in social media, the organization has a persona. That means there's a personality that is being communicated to people from the organization or about the organization. So depending on how you're doing your graphics and so on, the colors you use, the kind of videos you put, what you're actually doing is you're creating an image, a personality, or use the word, a brand, in the minds of people about that church or ministry or that organization. And it is important that you have a singular message across all platforms. So, for example, on our Instagram posts, the kind of videos and things we do, if it looks very contemporary, very youthful, very lively, and then maybe on what we do on maybe some other platform, maybe like Facebook or YouTube, the graphics and what we're putting out looks very conventional, traditional, then it's a mixed message. People are like, okay, is this organization very contemporary, relevant, creative, or is this organization, very conventional, traditional, and so on? So people get confused, right? So what we do on all these platforms should be communicating the same message. So the posts, the content should be uniform, and basically you're creating one personality, one persona of the organization on all of these platforms. So that's very important to keep in mind. Otherwise, people will get confused, because it's likely that the same person is on all these platforms. People are on multiple platforms, and so they do get to see you on what's happening on these platforms. The other important thing is to encourage people to share on their social media platforms. It's like the word of mouth passing of information. So when somebody likes what you're doing and they share it on their own social media, it's like a word of mouth spreading, and the information can spread further, far and wide. Another important thing, and I guess all of you are probably aware, is to use hashtags effectively. So whenever you post, use keywords or hashtags or descriptions that are very relevant and which would really give visibility to what you're doing. So that's important. And, so we follow certain standards in doing our hashtags. And try to be responsive on social media. If there are people, so our social media accounts are being handled by our one person we have dedicated. So whenever there's a response, that whenever somebody responds or reacts to our social media posts, which requires a response, they are responsible. They will try to respond quickly, and of course, sometimes there could be negative comments, and then we just avoid it, or sometimes even delete it. So those things happen on social media. Just a couple of more points is there is generally, studies have been done on when is the best time to post. And this depends on your audience. And generally, people towards Thursday, Friday of the week tend to spend more time, looking on social media, maybe in their evening hours. they would spend more time. So if we can target, our posts, or at least important posts on the time on the day and the time when people are most likely online, or when our audience is most likely online, then we will have greater reach. So that is also important. So on certain things, for example, if we are releasing a music album, a music song, or something very important, then we time our post for greater reach. We can use paid promotions and advertising. That's cost effective. It's cheap, and it gives a great reach. So if you run an ad on say Facebook or Instagram, for a few thousand rupees, you can actually reach tens of thousands of people, or just depending on who we're targeting, you can even reach hundreds of thousands of people, which is not possible, through physical promotions. So social media platforms give us that kind of reach. We've done some of this in the past when we want to promote certain events and so on. The other advantage with these social media platforms is that we can measure results. So on all of these platforms, they have an analytics page that which you can go and see the data and how well your post is doing, how many people have seen it, all those details are there, and which we look at to get an idea of how people are engaging with our content, especially things that are of importance to us, like the Sunday sermons, the other digital content like books that we release. We look at the analytics so we get an idea how things are being received on the other side. And then there are also social media monitoring software where there are third-party tools that will listen to all your social media platforms and give you a summary of how well you're doing on social media. So that's also an option for organizations to get a sense of how their social media posts are actually engaging with people. So you can set up an account on follow what's happening in terms of the posts that are going out on social media platforms, right? So just given this is just a little idea on how to effectively use social media, and I hope that's useful. So let me pause here for today. And are there any questions on this, either chapter 12 or 13, on how we do graphics and videos, or some best practices in using social media? Are there any thoughts, any questions from anybody? Okay. All right. So we'll pause here for today. We won't be having a second hour. We'll continue this next week, and we'll get into some more interesting things. A little bit, things may get a little bit technical for a little bit of time, but don't worry. I'm not going to ask you technical questions, or this is just for information, to know that this information is available, so that whenever you want, depending on what you're being involved in, you can go and look it up and make use of it in your ministries, as and when you start using these things, right? Or even if you're directly not using it, if you know somebody else is trying to promote their ministry or use these tools in their ministries, you can share this with them. And it might be, you can share the PDF and whatever, or the content we give you can share it with them, and it might be useful for them, right? So things may get a little technical, a couple of, for a few lectures, but don't worry too much about it. Just listen, take in whatever you can, and if it's like not of immediate relevance. Don't worry about it. Just to give you an exposure of what is there. Okay, so we'll connect again next week and continue our class. So today we're just doing one lecture, and we'll take this forward next week. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Pastor.